You ready? We ready? He's ready. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the FwooshCast times Super7 Ultimate Chat. And we have a fun one today because we are going to be discussing the latest property to enter the Ultimates line. So get ready to go Rangers, because we are very happy to be joined for discussion by Super7's own Kyle Wlodyga, and lead designer on the new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ultimates line. So Kyle, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. And I just, first, before I not start at anything, 1, 3 Ultimates in an intro is a dream come true, and 2,
it took everything out of it.
It must be my birthday because you said my last name correctly on the first try. Did you rehearse that? Did someone
try? There was
yes,
there was a lot. I've been rehearsing for the past week to get that correct.
Wow, yeah. See, all the Polish lessons are paying off.
And you know the weird thing, I think because I think I inadvertently made fun of you for the Ultimates thing in one of your videos before.
No, you made fun of my boss. You made fun of
Oh,
John.
was he doing the Ultimates thing?
He was, because he was talking about the Ultimates.
Is Ninja Turtles?
The Optimus.
Oh yeah.
And he did a week Ultimates, and you're like, come on, dude.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
So I was so embarrassed.
Well, anyway, I mean, we're here to talk about the new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ultimates line. And this is something that, you guys, Brian, announced that you were going to be working on, I think back in January, but the pre-order is finally here. So before we get into all the awesome details about it, I just want to ask, so up to this point, how have you guys been working this line, and what's the work that's been done leading up to the Power Rangers pre-order, or really any Ultimates pre-order?
We treat the Rangers, well, I personally treat the Rangers with a lot of reverence, because I was born in 1990, so when they hit in 93, 94, it really got me where I live. And I see both your eyes, holy crap, that guy is young.
I hate you.
So I've always loved it, and to be completely frank, my parents didn't let me watch it as a kid because they thought it was too violent, which it was for a kid. You watch that show, you practice on your brother and stuff. So I would always sneak it at my cousin's house and try and watch it whenever I can. But I can still dress up, and they would still buy me the toys. So my connection, like a lot of our Ultimates properties, is to the toys. So when we finally realized that we could do these, I volunteer as tribute. I'll be the first one to do it. And so I got to kind of rediscover the brand all over again. I'd always been into it, and I'd been reading the Boom Studios comics and other kind of media that was around it. But I got to rewatch it, I got to study it, look at it with different eyes, and really fall in love with the brand again. And that's typically what we always do with, whether it's Reaction or Super Cyborgs or Ultimates or any of our other kind of properties, is you do the work, you do the research, you figure out, you don't have to figure it out, because of a lot of this stuff, we're all fans of these properties that we work on. But sometimes you aren't, and you got to figure out, okay, what makes this thing tick, and discovering that brand and becoming a fan yourself is always part of the process. And for a brand like this that I've always loved, it's kind of rediscovering, oh man, this is so cool. Why did I stop watching this as much as I did?
Yeah. So
I watched every season of Mighty Morphin, all 3 of them, even the reissue ones where they put a new intro on it, and somehow Americanized it even more. They issued it again later in the 2000s. And the movies, and again, read some of the comic book stuff. It's just fell into the world again and just consumed everything. And now I have this wall of detolfs here in my personal collection, and there's an entire detolf of just Rangers.
what about the fans who have been, you know, Power Rangers fans for a long time, but you know, maybe this is their first foray into Ultimates or Super 7, because every time you guys announce a new property for Ultimates, it brings new fans into that line. How would you talk about kind of, you know, your guys' approach and execution for a line like Ultimates for a property like Power Rangers?
For us, when we call the brand Ultimates, like that's exactly what we mean. If we can get into it when we start showing you guys these guys the renders and the images of the figures, but they come with everything you could possibly ever want. People really enjoy kind of our Ultimates Turtles line because it comes with so many accessories, and a big inspiration point for Super 7 is kind of vintage toy lines. And so specifically for Turtles, a lot of our sculpts, actually all of our sculpts, are based on the vintage toy line, which is where people have their connection to Turtles. And I think when you see these images of these Rangers, you'll realize that we have that same sort of mindset, and that we have some toy-inspired accessories, and we also have a lot of accessories that are inspired from the show, but we also probably give you more than is reasonable cost-wise for us to give you in terms of accessories. And they're all based in like a larger 7-inch scale, which really allows us to kind of go deep into the sculpt details and really kind of give you that beautiful aesthetic figure that you've always wanted. It's the way that it was worded to me when I first started working with Super 7 is that Ultimates are the figure that you imagined you had as a kid. There's modern articulation schemes, there's better paint, too many accessories, some people would say, and beautiful packaging that's very difficult to throw away.
Yeah, tell me about it.
every aspect of those pieces are Ultimates.
And you brought up Ninja Turtles, but there are a lot of other properties that are under the Ultimates umbrella. So when you talk about the style and scale overall for Ultimates too, this allows you to kind of be able to introduce your Power Rangers into these other worlds too, right?
Yes. We got He-Man from some of our past pieces. We have Ninja Turtles, Andre the Giant, Voltron, Toxic Crusader. So literally all of these toy properties and these IPs that you've always loved are now under one brand and line, and they all fit, and they all feel like they're part of the same thing. It's like, I don't know, these are the toys I wish I had as a kid, because I throw them together, but they never looked quite the same, right? They're done by the same team, they're done by the same people, they're done more or less by the same factory, and so they all feel cohesive.
Mixing of universes.
Yeah.
Right.
Being able to do that consistently, because I mean that's something that you always wanted to, that I always wanted to be able to do too. But you know, as much as you wanted to, Turtles and He-Man and Thundercats and Power Rangers, they never all really matched up the way that they should have. And I'm not going to talk about how old I am, but it took all of these years to get to that point. But I'm glad for it to finally be here.
Not remotely what I think at all. But there's always a personal connection to all of these toys that we're working on, because if there wasn't, we wouldn't be here.
Right. So the pre-orders have just opened, and obviously, it's hard because toy collectors, they see something and then it's always, okay, what's next? But it's like one of those things where we need to come back and actually think about and talk about what is here right now. So the pre-orders open, and, almost immediately we wanted to come and talk to you about this, because the first series is actually it's really strong, I think, in terms of characters, and I would like to go through each one of them with you. But it seems like there's kind of a first for Ultimates here as well, because the standard Ultimates releases generally carry 4 figures per series, and this one has 5 figures, but to me it's almost like 4 figures plus a Zord. Is that something that you guys are like, really like putting to Power Rangers as far as that kind of execution pattern, or how did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we do a lot of discussion internally about what we should make, when we should make it, what's right for this brand specifically. Because obviously we have our standards for Ultimates, which are the ways of 4. If you go way back, to our Club Grayskull days, you'll know that there were waves of 6 back then. So it's not 100% only 4. I had these 4 characters that I think were really strong, but it was Flynn who said, but like Zords have never been made in this scale before. I think that's important. I was like, okay, so then I'm going to sub out, this guy or whatever. He's like, no, we're going to do 5 figures for this one. Let's do it. More toys, like, just take it there. I'm all about it. Especially Zords never been that have never been really made in this scale before, that are fully articulated, fully painted, with accessories. It's a really exciting thing to be able to do.
Yeah, it gives collectors a pattern to be able to follow too, because it's like, everybody likes to start speculating as to what the next lineup is going to be, and it's like, okay, I got 4 figures to think about here, then plus a Zord, and so it helps compartmentalize things. So I think that's really cool. But let's get into it, and I want to start with the one that has kind of been out there in the world the longest, because you had an opportunity to preview this figure at Power Morphicon not too long ago, and so let's start with Goldar. So Goldar is actually, he's a bigger character. He's one of the villains, and some people might call him one of the main villains, right? But what made him correct for kind of the first series? And let's talk about all the stuff that he comes with.
Goldar's design is incredible. He's an amazing character design. His armor is immaculate and so intricate. He's just a cool, there's an ambiguity to him. Like, is he a lion? Is he a dog? I read a thing somewhere that someone called him a manticore, which made me love him even more. There's bits and pieces of his armor that are scorpion-like, because in Jew Ranger he's married to Scorpina, and they have a little scorpion baby kid, with a scorpion hat on. It's adorable. Goldar is he's so associated with the Rangers. He's if he was the very first monster that they fought.
Mm-hmm.
And he fights them basically, when they didn't have a suit to call in from the prop shop, they're like, oh, we got Goldar laying around, bring him in and we'll fight him. He's always there. He's kind of Rita's #1 guy, and he's beautiful. And the other thing was Goldar products had been made before, so he's more or less kind of a statement piece of you think you've seen Goldar. How about this Goldar?
Well, let's talk about that. What are some of the highlights that you would consider in terms of what sets this Goldar apart? Be it paint, deco, sculpting, articulation. What's cooking?
So obviously there's all the accessories. He comes with both versions of his wings. He's got the ones that are retractable, like a backpack when he loses his power, and then the fold on wings, which just looks so cool.
Those are articulated, right?
Yes, the wings are articulated, be able to flap. Blow the Rangers away, and 2 heads, which I don't think has really been done with the Goldar before. I always imagine screaming and "Yo, look at you, Rangers!" Stupid. That you can cut that part out. That was horrible.
No, that's staying.
Really bad.
I have to jump around back there.
And then the power coin box from the specific episode where I think he's got the Ranger parents, and so he's bargaining with their parents' lives for their power coins, and so there's a bunch of power coins in there, and all 5 Ranger coins are sculpted inside the box, and they'll be painted too.
Oh wow!
Well, as someone who doesn't know Power Rangers,
sure, yeah,
I always think of the villains as bigger. What's the size of this compared to others?
You, my friend, you're getting ahead of me. I was just about to say the biggest difference is that he is a full 8 inches tall, so he is going to be ginormous. He's probably the biggest Goldar I've ever seen.
And it looks, just because of recency, probably.
I'm gonna guess what you're gonna ask.
There's been a lot of talk about paint deco and finishes on some characters as of late. And I mean, Goldar, it's in his name, right? So let's talk about how are you guys approaching the gold on Goldar?
It's gonna be fully metallic. Fully painted. There's 2 different types of gold on there, so if you look at it, there's kind of a scale mail to his shoulder pauldrons and some of the details on his gauntlets and his knee pads and stuff, and that's going to be a different gold. It's a little bit more orange to it, but then the rest of it's all going to be metallic. I'm going to tell you guys what I told Kevin on the Power Morphicon stream. He's not called Goldar for nothing.
That's cool, because I got to be honest with you. I mean, when I think of Power Rangers, it's not something that I grew up with, but I've come to appreciate their importance, not only as a pop culture piece, right, but also to the toy and action figure world. So I'm about collecting that core Ranger team and whatnot. But I got to be honest with you, man. The villains and the monsters are my bread and butter. I know Zords are for some people, but Power Rangers has got some insane bad guys, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I like seeing him not only for this being in the first series, but also like kind of the slot he represents too, because I mean, you got to just be antsy about some of those guys to get to, right?
Yes, there's a wealth of incredible Power Ranger monster designs. Ones that kind of evil space alien vintage toy line, but then also ones that are so cool and they just never got made.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to pull from both of them. You can sleep easier at night, Veebs, that there are.
And you talked about the deco on this, the gold, right? But it seems to me that you know, the reds and then the greens too are really something that are coming out in this figure that I got to be honest with you, I wasn't really aware of so much as like the greens and whatnot, because other figures that I seen or might have didn't always make those hits. So it's cool to see those here.
Like I said, we study these designs tirelessly. And he's the personal favorite of mine, so I wanted to make sure we really got him. He's got all this beautiful like inlaid jewels and this like blood red Under Armour suit and stuff, which usually isn't highlighted. I mean, we painted the inside of his hands that suit, for Christ's sake. It's going to be really, really cool.
Let's keep it with the enemies and move on next to Putty, the Putty Patrol. This is another, I think, really, really solid choice for a first wave.
Oh yes, I think so too. I mean, you always have to have your bad guys to fight your rangers, or else, you know, as cool as it is to pose your rangers posed up on the shelf, like, you don't have anybody to fight, you know, you're gonna have some pretty lackluster photography. Yeah, he was a no-brainer for the first wave, just because like you see they're literally in every episode.
And he's an army builder.
Yes.
It's smart for a first wave, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and you know, we learned that, you know, people seem to respond to army builders from, you know, the success that we had with the foot soldier.
I'm not going to tell you how many I have.
Well, I know how many you have. It's this is, you know, this, you can't really go wrong with a Putty. They're like just a fun design. They're wacky. They, you know, and this gives you every version you could really ever want.
And I wanted to kind of talk about him maybe ahead of some of the other standard figures as well, because I mean, obviously his primary color is white, so it gives you a real clear view to his articulation scheme that you have going on here. And as I was looking at him as opposed to, you know, some of the other characters in there, I was able to follow kind of point for point. So let's kind of talk about, you know, the balance that Ultimates usually brings in terms of, you know, the aesthetic choices and the articulation, and just maybe kind of talk about his movement a little bit.
Detective Veebs following my plans. Yeah, that's cool. No, it's fine. Yeah, so we typically have kind of like a standardized like articulation scheme for Ultimates, and that articulation scheme is designed with aesthetics in mind, so that you'll get, you know, almost all of the range that you could ever really want out of an Ultimate, out of a figure, but still have your aesthetics preserved. While I recognize that, you know, some people view this issue differently, he does come with single jointed elbows and knees, but that's so that his form is not broken. Especially on a figure like the Putty Patrol or like the Rangers, he's got this really form-fitting suit. We're not opposed to doing double jointed anything if we can hide it. When we were working on this, it's like, okay, like what are the Ranger products that are out there? What's been done? What do the vintage toys look like? And we realized, like, oh, you know, there's never been a domestic line that gives that like accurately depicts the body types of those those Japanese style Rangers, where it's a little more live, a little more slim, and not just roided out monsters.
Not Power of the Forest Rangers. Silverhawk's pre-order has been up for a while, and people were talking about that prior to them being shown. And this too is that, you know, just because something is under the Ultimates umbrella, that doesn't mean that they don't get the correct, you know, body types. Because yeah, it started with He-Man, but not everybody is going to be, you know, like He-Man. So
you can see it in some of our other, like the heavy metal stuff. So like Papa Emeritus 1 and King Diamond are a little bit more slimmed down, and so we've been experimenting with that and how that looks and how that translates into the Ultimates form factor. And I think that with these Power Rangers, we finally kind of perfected how that scheme can be applied to different body types.
Is the jersey, is that soft goods or is that a?
Sure is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, and that's perfect because, you know, I wanted to get into the accessories for this because, you know, Putty needs the arm attachments, different hands heads. I mean, I think those are cool and requisite to be included, but he also comes with some pretty nutty accessories, which probably make perfect sense, but I'm going to have you walk me through the hat and the jersey a little bit here.
Yeah. So obviously there's the super putty boulder hands and blade hands, right?
Yep.
Those are technically different putties. They're like super putties are like harder to kill, but they look the same. They just have like weapon hands.
Yeah.
The alternate head is actually more of a nod to how they looked in the original Japanese footage, and then the one that's on the body is more from some of the later footage. The clown collar is from a very specific episode where there's an evil clown that's like corrupting children or something.
Isn't that all clowns?
Yeah, sorry, let me be more specific. There's a putty that is disguised as corrupting children. There's a scene that still messes with me where like the Rangers are at the carnival and this putty clown sees them from like across a field. And it's kind of like that Monty Python and the Holy Grail thing where you see like Sir Lancelot like running towards the screen, but it's a clown. And then eventually he starts like running like this, and it turns into a putty, but with the big clown collar on. It's like it's an absolute
nightmare fuel.
Absolute nightmare. I want nothing in it. But so of course I made that into a toy.
Because you just describing that kind of made me nervous.
Well, the worst part is though, like he runs with his arms and his head back, and it's like, why, dude?
I never want to see Power Rangers.
And then there's a very popular episode among fans called Wild West Rangers, where the putties then are in a Wild West town, and they have like hats and bandanas and little
cowboy putty. That's never talking your language.
I'm back in.
Lost him at Cloud. Got him back.
Got him a cowboy.
Come back with Cowboys. I'm your hope.
And then the Z vest and the Z knee pads are specific for like the Z putty.
Yep.
Which is, when Zed takes over and starts making his own putty. And then the jersey is from an episode. I can't remember the name of the monster, but it's this big like football playing rhinoceros, and he gives all of the putties like jerseys, and like they play like American football with the Rangers, and they like tackle them and stuff, and it's just ridiculous. So and that and the clown collar will be soft goods. So I'm pretty stoked that we're able to do that.
Okay, so yeah, that makes me more interested.
Yeah,
when you get into the wackiness like that, even though I know somewhere in my brain that Power Rangers is wacky on some level.
Yeah.
Hearing about specific scenes makes me interested.
How am I not going to have at least one of them in a football jersey and at least one of them in a class? So, I mean, I think you just sold me like 3 more as we were talking here. So,
I was that's low. Those are low numbers. You got to pump those up. I thought you were going to be like a full defensive line.
Man. Yeah. You got me building a football team. That's at what, like 11, right?
That's what I'm going to do. I don't know about you. I made this for me. Why are you guys here?
It's really cool with all of the stuff, right? And as we said, it can come, you can include things that make sense, but then things that are very episode specific under this banner. So I think he does probably the best of everybody. It's just like these really cool and different accessories, because I mean, you guys are releasing an Optimus Prime with a basketball. So I mean, having a buddy with a collar
and a surfboard.
And a surfboard. Yeah. So a clown collar and a football jersey. I mean, that's just keeping up with the Joneses for you guys, right?
How do I take it to the next level?
Yeah.
Improve upon this wacky formula that causes extra work for me. No. This is all part of this is the fun part. This is what I get out of bed. Putty's wearing like clown collars. That's what keeps me up at night. But Putty's wearing football jerseys is what I get out of bed for.
Okay. So the bad guys are the best, but this isn't called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because of the bad guys, right? It's because of the Rangers. Let's talk about the Yellow Ranger, because again, this is one that it's great to see a female in the first wave, and some accessories that seem to be, make a lot of sense for the character to a casual fan, but I think there's some deep cuts here too, right?
They're always on. This is Super7 Ultimates. Probably the first thing people are going to notice is that it comes with 2 unmasked heads, both Jimmy Kwan and Aisha Campbell. probably the first time ever in like a Power Ranger figure, is that if there's, that's a promise I'm going to give you guys going forward. If there are 2 people who have worn that Ranger color, you will get both heads for those people. Obviously, the Tui Trang is like kind of like a fan favorite, and obviously gone too soon. Just having those options. You know, I personally on my Ranger figures never use the unmasked heads, but I might.
So I've got a Bad Batch problem from Star Wars.
Oh, you too?
Like they look really all cool with their helmets on as a team, but the figures have been really great. So it's like every Bad Batch member that I have, they're just standing there looking cool, holding their helmets to show off their alternate heads. I mean, I think you're getting me here with that same thing here, right?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because like we worked really, like the design team worked really hard on trying to make them actually look like the actresses, which is not easy to do at any scale. But I mean, 7 inches is it's still pretty small. We're talking about, maybe in half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of space. That's now it has to look like this person. So I'm glad to hear that you're digging it, because that was perhaps the most difficult part of this figure.
And towards that end, how do you guys, how are you guys, at least right now, approaching, the actual production of this? Are the faces being handled through like traditional painting? Are you guys getting into any of the, I guess, the printing type of things with some of the like real human people?
Yeah, the digital inkjets. We're looking at it. Some of the factories that it's still new to the ones that we're working with, and it's a new process for us. Just like, even at like we're talking with the Silverhawks and like the new paints, and like that's all a whole new process for us, because usually it's like, all right, I want this Pantone, all right, go make it. And that's usually easy, because this is like a universal. But you're like, no, like I want this, her eyes need to look like this, and it has a specific shape, and like you're getting into like the facets of like a likeness with factories, which is like kind of a new thing for us. Factories are exceptional at like very like logistical and like objective problems. But if you're like, oh, like could this be more green? They're like, just tell me which color you want.
Right.
There's not a lot of back and forth on that stuff. We're making partners. We do. But there's things that we're good at, and there's things that they're good at, and that's what the partnership is about. We are looking into making them as good as we can at this point. I think if you've seen, like our ultimate movie, He-Man and stuff, it's going to be at least that, if not better. Probably better, because those figures are 2 or 3 years old now. So.
Yeah. Let's go into like, the body type and the articulation scheme and whatnot. It's like, again, as I talked, you can see some cues from like putty and whatnot, but it looks to me like there's a little bit of that rib cage joint going on with this female.
So, I mean, if you're, again, familiar with our Ultimates line, we're trying to keep it as consistent as possible. A lot of the female figures that we have in that line do have that diaphragm cut. Just because it helps kind of preserve the female form a little bit better in that, versus the ab crunch that you're seeing in like the putty and the Green Ranger. So that'll be able to swivel and move and do all that stuff. But the thing that we didn't get to cover in the putty as well, there is a ball joint at the belt waist part, so you'll be able to get that full movement ab crunch thing on all of them too. So my thing was that if they're Power Rangers. They can't do the martial arts moves. No one's going to buy them.
Yeah. Well,
or they're going to buy them, and then they're not going to buy the next one because they're going to be really disappointed. And that's not what we want. So.
Well, I got to tell you that diaphragm joint coupled with that belt kind of partial ball or whatever, I love that. It's really the next iteration, I think, for kind of that body movement piece. So that's a really cool point, and I'm glad to hear that both the males and the females will have that.
Yeah, me too. We obviously went back and forth on these a lot and trying to figure out, like I was saying, just like there's nowhere you can hide anything, right? But we managed to find a couple.
Back to accessories though. Tell me what's up with the doll.
Okay. So I knew this was going to come up. I knew this was going to come up. So what I was going to ask you guys, if we could play a game here real quick, and I don't know if we're going to detract from it. What do you two? And I'll let Robo go first. Think that the doll is. Here we go.
The the doll holds like the soul of an ancient evil thing that Goldar is trying to get a hold of to release to help him take over. I don't know. Or it's her childhood doll that brings her back good memories or something. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Not even close, right?
No, I'm not. I'm sure. This is my poker face bad.
Poker face. Because you want him?
Yeah, Veebs, yeah.
I would say that because it appears to be unassuming that is the most powerful evil entity in all the entire universe.
That's pretty close. And once again, Robo don't know a thing.
No.
That is a doll named Mr. Tickle Sneezer. And I kid you not, that's his actual name. He is a doll that Trini brings into school for show and tell because she collects dolls for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, what?
She's just like us. And so Rita, usually there's like, oh, we're going to clean up the earth. And Rita's like, I'll give you something to clean up. And so she's like, I collect dolls. She's like, I'll give you something to collect. She doesn't actually say it. But then she possesses the doll and it becomes this giant monster troll looking guy. He looks exactly like that, except for he's like Megazord size and the Megazord punches him in the face.
This sounds like just the first of at least a couple Mr. Tickle Sneezers.
The deep cuts.
Yeah.
And you know what? Up until this point, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have tried to get me into watching Power Rangers or buying some Power Rangers or at least paying some, getting into it.
Yeah.
But you explaining this and the clown and the cowboy, this is the closest I've been to. I'm going to watch Power Rangers.
Get this man a frying pan because he's selling the sizzle right now.
We're not even done.
I know. We're halfway through and I'm already.
Yeah. So it was such a wacky thing. I was like, we have to put this in there. It's not gonna. It's like this is so worth it because those people who know are gonna be like, holy shit, they put Mr. Tickle Sneezer in there. The flowers to the right of Mr. Tickle Sneezer, just as much of a deep cut that I'm happy to take you on a ride for. So there's an episode where Babu and Squat, who are like the baboon and like the blueberry pig looking guy. Did I get you a blueberry pig guy? Okay. They make a monster to show Rita how awesome they are, and it's this turtle that has a stoplight jammed into the back of its head.
As they do.
Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah. Ultimate weapon. And it's called Shell Shock, and its power is it plays like red light, green light with you, like freezes you or stops you.
Are you kidding me? Now I need a figure of that too.
I'm not even joking. Yeah. And so he freezes all of the Rangers except for the Yellow Ranger, but he uses his go beam on the Yellow Ranger, which means that she just can't stop running forever. And so she's they have wrist communicator. Sorry, I'm not Rangers do this. They're not SEAL Team 6. She's on the phone with Zordon as she's running, how do I do this? What do I do? And he's like, you have to go get these Deandra flowers from this very specific island. And so she runs to the island somehow across water or something. They don't show it, but it's she gets to the island somehow and picks these flowers and then runs back with them. And then eventually the Megazord, it grows up really big and Tommy, I think, whatever, it grows up big, is fighting a Megazord. Yellow Ranger shows up with the flowers. She's like, I got him, and then sprinkles them, and then the monster is destroyed and stuff. So again, deep cuts, Deandra flowers, everyone.
I like talking about toys, and I also like learning about things. So that's a good one. I appreciate the deep cuts that get included with stuff like this. So I mean, yeah. Blasters and everything, those are cool, but it's Mr. Tickle Sneezer that's got me. As far as I'm concerned, this is your release of Mr. Tickle Sneezer with Yellow Ranger pack-in.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and you were talking about some of the other ones that are a little bit more standard, so her power daggers, the power crystal, which they use up to power the Megazord. Another thing I don't really see a whole lot of Rangers coming with is the open Morpher, because if the open Morphers to the left of Tickle Sneezer, so if you compose them doing this with their their unmasked heads, it's half morphed, right? I thought that would be a cool display option. If the Blade Blaster can convert into 3 different modes, I'm going to give you all 3 different modes of the Blade Blaster. And then I had mentioned there's a little bit of toy-inspired accessories here too. So the all-white blade blaster and the all-silver power daggers are a nod to that directly toy line. And so these are based off of the head flip accessories, like larger 8-inch ones.
I mean, just the display options for this character now is just going to be off the charts. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, you know, standard Ranger hero pose, and it's like, heck no, it's like you're getting Mr. Tickle Sneezered.
or running pose. Running.
Yeah, well, she literally holds them up like this and like just runs in place like that. So it's perfect.
Perfect. Well, Yellow Ranger is awesome, but I think that I've probably kept you, you know, waiting long enough because
I can't choose. I love all my Rangers equally.
I don't believe you because I think that you happen to be a pretty big Green Ranger fan, and what do you know? Green Rangers in the first series, right? Weird. The two things don't have anything to do with each other, right?
This is merely coincidence, officer.
He's definitely a fan favorite. So I think to me that this is what I would consider to be the anchor character of the first wave, right?
Shout out to everyone who is so excited to be talking about more Tommy figures in the comments right now. Yeah, I mean, Tommy's the best. We make him, and people, other companies keep making him because he sells them. He's the best. Like, he's the fan favorite. He's, Jason David Frank is kind of like a brand ambassador for Mighty Morphin. Can't really deny his sort of impact on nerd culture too. Even you guys, I'm gonna guess, remembers the scene where the Green Ranger jumps up from the ground, kicks the Rangers out of their own Megazord to then beat the brakes off of them.
And with this Green Ranger, I mean, the accessories and whatnot that you guys have included, I mean, I'm seeing at least 3 different, kind of take us through the display options made possible through this.
There's basically going to be 3 different modes here, and they can even be expanded with the unmasked heads. And because Tommy's so popular and everyone loves him, to get more Tommies, you get 2 different heads for Tommy. So there's the good Tommy with the ponytail and the full top, his headband and his flashing green eyes every now and then. But so he's got those bright green eyes, which I don't think I've ever seen. So I'm pretty pleased we were able to pull that off. So obviously it comes with his dragon shield and the armband arms. Your chair just broke.
I'm having technical difficulties.
He shrank.
I thought if I popped it again, it would come back up, and it didn't.
Nope, you got to get off of there. Yeah, there you go.
I thought you were pulling like the Austin Powers.
I accidentally kicked it, and it went down, and I thought, oh, hit it again. No.
Yeah, so he'll come with a dragon shield, which is kind of his standard look, and the armbands. Something to note on the armband arms, because it's pretty obvious that there's interchangeable arms here. The cut for the bicep is right at the armband, so you preserve that kind of nice arm musculature. But there's a couple times where the Green Ranger will transfer his shield power to red or black, and then the armbands disappear, the shield disappears, and he's just kind of like regular Green Ranger. So he'll have without the armbands, and you'll be able to remove the arms to swap them out. And you can also remove the dragon shield off, so then you have kind of your dragon shield less Ranger, your Green Ranger.
For future, if black or blue, will the shield transfer over to there?
Yeah, with red and black or blue or whoever else might wear it, you'll be able to. They'll be compatible. And then lastly, you're probably seeing a little bit more of that toy-inspired aesthetic there.
Yeah.
So that is the toyetic dragon shield, which is kind of based off of that head flip dragon shield, and it will be back now. So.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's how the original toy was finished. So cool. It's gonna look and feel exactly like that.
And it looks like you've got a little bit more toy inspiration going on here with the blaster too, right?
Right. So there's the toyetic blade blaster, and then there's also the silver injection toyetic dragon dagger too. Which was
okay.
Simplified design. So that's right underneath the regular dragon dagger. Can't be the Green Ranger without your dragon dagger being able to summon the dragon Zord with your flute. Right. And obviously he comes with the Sword of Darkness, which is the sword that like enchants him to make him evil. Might be asking what the sword is to the right there. That is the Sword of Power. Yes, Sword of Power. That's from a very specific episode where he gets it from this monster goat guy who like is ramming everybody, and yeah, it's just another cool big sword for him to come with.
Oh no, more accessories.
That's right. The other thing that people might not be super familiar with is this red laser gun looking thing. That is what's known as the Mega Heater. There is a monster called Turban Shell, which is basically like one of those conch shells that turn into an evil monster sent by Zed that can only be destroyed by going, from the inside with a lot of heat, and then you put water on him and he'll freeze because that's the only way he can kill him. I always enjoyed how Zordon always knew exactly how to kill stuff when it's like the first time this monster's ever been. What aren't you telling us, Zordon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Mega Heater is very specific because he like goes into this turban shell guy and laser blasts him from the inside.
When you have the opportunity, I think, to kind of work on what you consider to be like your favorite character from any given property, I mean, obviously the advantages of having the passion, like the extra passion and knowing a lot about the character are there. What are the things that you wanted to make sure that you have to, pull yourself back and look at objectively when you're coming across to a character like this? Because I think sometimes it's got to be kind of hard to divorce yourself of that, right?
Definitely. And I think people could make an argument that I haven't done that by including the Mega Heater in the Sword of Power. Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to, what's the Joe Dirt line? Like, it's not about what you want, it's about the consumer. Because obviously, we're more or less, when we're making these things, we're making the things that we want on our shelves. Right? Obviously, there's a lot more to that because it has to sell well, it has to, be able to be in the mass market, it has to not kill anybody, that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, like, there's the staples, there's the dragon dagger, there's the interchangeable hands and heads, and and then after that, it's like, okay, here's like the basic functions that people expect from our ultimates, but then like, how do we like, add a little bit of spice to it?
We talked about Goldar, Putty, Yellow Ranger, and Green Ranger, which I think, to me is like a standard ultimate series, but you guys threw in.
Yes.
Well, didn't throw in, but you've also included with this first series a Zord, and it's the Tyrannosaurus Dino Zord, which it's definitely an ultimate figure, and but it's kind of like it's almost its own thing too, along with it, right?
Let me make it very clear though for everyone: we did not throw this in. You still have to buy it.
Yes, exactly. That's true.
Poor
that's
wording.
Very poor wording.
like I was saying earlier in the interview, like there's not really been ones made at this scale before that are just standalone figures of the swords. Like there's been some other stuff in 12 and under type product, and there's also been some like insane collectible stuff that was done overseas. At like Bandai, there's like die cast ones and stuff that transform, become the Megazord or whatever. But we found a lot of success in our Ultimates of Ultron and our Transformers in that, like, while they do not transform, which is always going to be some kind of, a sticking point for some people, they're accurate to that model, right? So they don't transform, but they're beautifully done, and they look like how those characters look in the animation or on the show. And the same thing is done here, because like when you watch the show, because the Tyrannosaurus Dinosaur is the only Zord of the 5 core Zords that fights on its own. The other ones just kind of sit in the background and take pot shots with their laser guns or whatever. I mean, the Mastodon uses his like tusks to like freeze people sometimes, which is nice. But this is the only one that like actually like throws down with monsters on its own. When in the show, he's actually a dude in a suit, very similar to the Megazord and the Dragonzord and all the other monsters. So we based this kind of on how that suit looks and where those points of articulation are. Because he's the only Zord that stands alone in his fights against the monsters. Every single segment of the tail does have a ball joint in there, so you'll be able to do whatever you want with it. And whip it around and all that good stuff. The jaw moves, head will be able to look up with a swivel hair and a big ball joint that can go around. There's a little bit of a movement to the arms like this, just because that's like, if you watch the footage, like those guys could like barely move. It's like very obvious.
Yeah.
It's like they're cardboard boxes that are painted. The knees will be able to stand up fully because there's like some modes where he like is a little bit taller, a little bit more squat, kind of whatever. There'll be a nice ankle pivot because those legs, probably you can see them, they kind of move out a little bit. it's probably the most articulated Tyrannosaurus dinosaur I've ever seen personally. But like I said, there's not a whole lot of them out there that are at this scale. So we definitely tried to, if there was an opportunity to give him articulation, we did.
How tall is this? Because I mean, you mentioned Goldar is like 8 inches, but how big does this guy come in at?
So all of the Zords will be in scale with all of the monsters. So this guy will be 8 inches taller.
Cool.
So and do your little diorama, tiny buildings, monster Zord fights, because if they were different scales, that would be
right.
Yeah.
And seeing the mock-up packaging shot, I mean, this dude obviously takes up most of the real estate in there, but you guys have included some accessories here in the forms of some alternate hands, which are cool. It's like you get fists, of course, and then what it looks to be kind of like, I guess, scratching or clawing hands too.
We want to give you options for the hands, just because like he doesn't really have any like other weapons. It's not like Mechagodzilla where he's got like a backpack or anything. It's just him and the monster.
He's a weapon.
He's the problem, right? He is the weapon. That's right.
Yeah.
This guy actually comes with some Ranger pack-ins that appear to be in scale.
Well, as much as we can, because these guys will be about an inch tall. These red Ranger minis. I think in the show they're actually smaller than that, but it's really, really difficult to reproduce, and without it just being kind of insignificant.
Right.
If you go smaller than that. So I want to be able to put something in there for the red Ranger, and I want it to be in scale, but I also want it to be compelling.
The Zords kind of give you an opportunity to have a display for them, right? Because they're in, but they're kind of their own thing because of the scale thing or whatnot. But this is a great way to be able to incorporate the actual Ranger presence into that display too. So and I just thought the early press picture of the Zord being right there on him, or the Ranger being actually right there on him, that's a cool way to relate the two and bring them back together.
The last thing that's in here is kind of like a weird one for us. We usually don't do kind of collectible prop type stuff, but you're gonna get a Red Ranger power phone.
You've got like 1-to-1 scale in here too, so
we're all over. Robo guessed that you were like neutral on this guy, and then I got you with ball joints in the tail.
As soon as you said ball joint, because you said it, and then I looked and I was like, oh. Yep, that does work in there.
Well, this is a really, I've said it, this is a very strong, and approachable first series for Power Rangers, and it's good to lead with a very popular, if not the most popular Ranger as the main character. But I mean, you guys have got really kind of the first bad guy. You've got the army builder in there. You've got the Zord kind of footprint put into here. So these are open for pre-order now. And I would imagine that you guys are probably going to follow the same kind of, solicitation pattern as you do for the other ones. And so I hate to go past what we're talking about right now, especially since this is brand new, but people are going to start thinking about what's going to be coming next. So how are you guys approaching, the line overall in terms of how you're wanting to build it out?
The thing I'll say with this is that, like Ninja Turtles, like, Toxic Crusaders, we're not going to start a team and not finish it, right? So yes, it is Green Ranger. Oh my gosh, there's so many Tommies out there. You will get every single core Ranger from the Morphin in this movie. Not this way. This line. We'll get all of them. So we're not gonna not finish some of this stuff. And then I think there's some you can expect a Zord in every way as well, because there's so many just incredible designs from this entire show. And I think you kind of called it out early with I like that this slot represents. But yes, we're gonna give you those villains. The Rangers are only as good as the villains that they fight, right? So actually, they're probably less, because I feel like some of the designs on
you judge a property by their villains for sure.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, if there's a core villain from Mighty Morphin or the Rangers in general that you want, you can trust that Super7 is going to give it to you eventually.
Yeah.
Now you keep mentioning Mighty Morphin. Are you within that realm? Just that realm?
I would need to double check our deal, but I know that for sure it's all Mighty Morphin for now.
Okay.
There's some other crossover stuff we could be getting into in the future, depending on how well that line goes. And once we deliver those core Rangers, what's to say we don't get into I don't know, like a Ninjetti version or something, right?
Gotcha.
You guys have no idea what I just said, but the comments just blew up.
Well, that's a good approach as you would for anything else, because I mean, we talked about you got to get those 4 turtles out, or you got to get that core Thundercats team out there first, and the same is definitely for the Rangers. So it's like for me as a collector, it's like, yes, I must have these right now, but at the same time, it's satisfying to put that whole team together for what it is, but then it's also kind of almost a release because it lets you start to go into those other areas.
Yeah, I mean, and it's good because you want those figures, and that's what brought you to the line. And you're gonna want those characters again. But then it's like, what else can you do? Like, do you do civilian outfits for the characters? Do you do there's that episode with the Wild West Rangers where there's that you should seriously, Robo, you should go check it out.
Don't keep bringing that up.
No, because all of the Rangers they change their outfits. They get hats, and all of their white gloves have white frills on them.
Oh,
they have white cowboy boots. It's
Eat your heart out, Roy
Rogers. Hop in Discord after this and stream it together so we can watch.
Oh yeah, some live stream, some watch along.
As much of the lead designer, but also as a fan, I mean, it's exciting to approach this from a because it sounds like you're going in for the long haul for this, right? I mean, the possibilities are open.
I mean, think about it this way: the show ran for 3 seasons, I think it's over 200 episodes, if not super close to 200 episodes.
Wow.
There's a new monster every episode, so keep that in mind.
Monsters could have their own line, man.
I know. Well, not every episode. There's some longer arcs and stuff. My glasses are falling down. Sometimes they repeat them, but there's a lot of stuff we can pull from for this one. And the possibilities are almost endless.
Kyle, I'm excited. Congratulations on, I know this has been one that's been kind of long percolating for you guys, and it's great to finally see it up for pre-order. And I imagine that, like all the rest of the Ultimates pre-orders, we're going to be open for about a month or so for this first one, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So get your pre-orders in now before it closes. Otherwise, you're out of luck.
Yeah, you're going to be sorry, but everything looks great. It's going to be really cool to get a very aesthetically pleasing Power Rangers line with a lot of far off and far out accessories that really make the Ultimates execution also what it is. And now I'm going to be able to have some Rangers hanging out with the Thundercats and the Ninja Turtles, and they're all just going to be right there together.
I mean, that's kind of the dream, though, right? Is if you have this line that's got everything together. It's there is those in the 90s. There was a Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles crossover.
Yeah.
And Fox Kids, and now these are going to be in scale, and now you can do that for your display.
It's happening. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to talk to us about this. I hope we can do this again sometime in the future. And like I said, congratulations on this first Ultimates pre-order. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see where the line goes next.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're very excited to be able to work on a prestige brand like this. But more importantly, I'm really excited to get to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
We've been a fan for so long. I've been a fan for even longer than that. And I think that forums like this where we can talk to you guys, speak to collectors, walk people through the product, and really just geek out together about the toys that are bringing us together is super important and not happening enough. So, and I feel like it's a bummer that a pandemic had to happen to make stuff like this become real. But I'm glad that we're here now, and I really hope we get to continue forums like this in the future.
Yeah, same here. Because if I'm not talking about toys, I lose things to talk about. So we got to keep going.
There's really nothing else we talk about. the toys.
Right, well, we're going to start a group text, and we'll just keep.
That's right.
All right. Well, Kyle, again, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again soon, and look forward to seeing what's it for the future for Power Rangers and Super 7. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll catch you
on the Fwoosh.